campfire, strumming along with our favorite lyre. Adventure call, the quest awaits, your destiny's in the hands of the fates. But never fear, we're all friends here, we'll have your back when danger's near. Come with us through the pages as we unravel a tale for the ages into the Percy-Verse.
Hello and welcome to the Percy-Verse Podcast. I'm Alisa.
And I'm Anna. Grab your platinum cards and jump down the 40-foot water slide because today we're reading Chapter 16, We Take a Zebra to Vegas.
We're diving deep.
Vegas, baby. We are into the emotional realm for sure in this chapter.
Yes.
Way deep.
The way that I could use one of those platinum cards in real life.
I know. I was like, it is quite appealing. Like, even just the part where they get to shower after not having showered for a week. I was just like, like, worth missing that many days of the quest. I don't know. Still makes me anxious. But on the other hand, showers and 3 Cokes. I was like, 3.
And then just endless money. You don't have to worry
endless
about
money.
Anything.
Yeah. I was at the end, I was like, I think they should have just taken the platinum cards and put them in their pockets and like left.
Run. Yeah.
Because we know what, like, the cards are valid.
They're useful outside of the casino. I know, which is why I'm like, hey, can someone get me one of those?
Just real quick.
Just really quick, just to kind of help me out.
Maybe we need to do a podcast in Vegas.
Maybe I could do a little
casino
student loan, kind of payment situation real quick.
Yes.
Just kind of clear that.
Just put it on the platinum card. Yeah. But first, we have to tie up some loose ends with the war god, who is waiting for them in the diner parking lot.
Yeah.
And being his usual Aries, annoying, provoking self.
Yep. And Percy is again ready to start a fight.
Yeah, just rearing.
Yeah, absolutely rearing to go. I do have to say, I love that Ares' shield transforms.
Yes.
And that it transforms
I wrote that too.
Into this bulletproof vest. It feels again like that way of taking these ancient gods who existed in a time when we only had swords and shields, saying, okay, what is the 21st century equivalent of a literal shield? It's like, well, it would be that.
Bulletproof vest. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I wrote, that's cool. When that happened.
That's cool.
That's cool. Aries might be annoying, but that was cool.
Yeah.
But he's kind of egging them. He's like, you looked good on TV. And Percy's like, you're a jerk. Yep. And Annabeth and Grover caught their breath, and it's like very dramatic.
I know, it's such a mild statement, but the gods are really so sensitive. Like, for
very touchy.
These like endlessly powerful immortal beings, they are so touchy about
insecure, might we say?
Yeah, something as mild as being called a jerk, because that's really, I mean, that's a truly mild insult to levy at someone. But Grover and Annabeth are like, they're acting
like, no. It's the end of the world.
Did like the worst thing imaginable. Yeah.
Ares just ignores it though. He like makes a little bulletproof vest, and he just says, "See that truck over there? That's your ride. It'll take you straight to LA with one stop in Vegas." Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. And we find out that that Percy can read the writing on the 18-wheeler because reverse printed white on black is a good combination for dyslexia, which is something I don't think I knew outside of this book. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it reads, Kindness International Humane Zoo Transport, warning live wild animals. And we learn very quickly that the humane part of Humane Zoo Transport is complete and utter lies.
Lies and fabrications.
Yeah, 100%.
And this is where we get the moment that Ares gives Percy just a blue nylon backpack. Nothing you would think twice about. And it's filled with really helpful things, like actually, $20 of like regular cash, which is not very much money.
I know. I wrote only $20.
2004, 2005.
Yeah.
that's not going to, get you all that far.
It's not. Like, I was thinking about how we were saying $100 from Camp Half-Blood wasn't very much, and then now it's like $20. But then I was thinking about how, like, if he gave them more money, basically he needs them to, like, take the stuff and get on this thing, and and so I think it kind of like reduces their options. If,
absolutely.
That he doesn't give them that much money.
Yeah. Well, and reduces their options. They don't really have too long in Vegas to think about it before they wind up in the Lotus Casino. But in general, it really restricts their options. And when we get to the Lotus Casino part, I'll share my like tinfoil hat conspiracy about it then. But so it has $20, some golden drachmas, and a bag of double stuffed Oreos. And it really is, I think, like whoever, whether it was Kronos or Aries or Luke.
I'm trying to imagine one of them like packing in the Oreos.
But whoever also decided like what should be in the bag, I feel like it's the perfect amount of like just enough that but not so much that it's like suspiciously helpful.
Right. It like seems helpful, but then annoying, like only $20, etc.
Yeah, and everything is it's mild. It's like 2 different forms of money and then like a random snack in this very unassuming backpack. So I feel like, whether it was Kronos was like the double stuffed Oreos. Those are
right.
Gotta have those. Whoever decided that, I think, did a good job at putting together a very unassuming backpack that wouldn't raise any red flags on any of their parts.
Well, and I was thinking, like, do they need new clothes? Because, like, they just got the, water park clothes, but then they all got wet in, like, the big ending. So it is really helpful to get the new clothes.
Yeah, and Aries knows they're about to be in a long car ride in the back of a really gross, inhumane truck, and so would want fresh clothes after that experience.
Yeah, though I'm not sure that Aries cares quite that much. For anyone watching on YouTube, we have the slight appearance of my other cat, Chewy. I know in the past Charlie has visited. So we may Chewy. Apparently, he came for the animal episode, apparently.
He did. Oh.
He lives a much better life than those animals. But everybody say hi to Chewy in the comments.
His little face just in the bottom corner.
Yes, in the corner. I think that Percy, he says, I don't want your lousy, like he doesn't want the backpack.
Yeah.
And I wrote, again, good instincts. Like, I do think that part of this is just like his defiant self. Yes. But part of me wonders if like this is another good example of his instincts kicking in and being like, I shouldn't take something from this guy who just tricked me. And that would be very, very good instincts given what is in this backpack.
Absolutely. No, totally. He from the jump views Aries as an inherently like untrustworthy person, and so it feels aligned with Percy's view and kind of read on Aries for him to just not trust anything. And then, like you said, they were just tricked at Waterland, and so he's like, okay, then why on earth would I want to accept a gift from you? But kind of similarly to how Annabeth and Grover were like, we don't have a choice with going to Waterland. They were both like, we have to take this backpack. Are you kidding me? You cannot refuse a gift from a god. Yeah,
absolutely. And, he reluctantly takes it. He's reflecting on how Aries reminds him of every bully he's ever known. Nancy Bobbiffet, Clarice, Smelly Gabe, sarcastic teachers. And, we're looking back at the diner, and the waitress, to her credit, is concerned about these kids, and even brings out the fry cook to see them, who takes their picture.
Okay, question about this, though.
Yeah,
because she looks nervous, but I'm wondering, does she look nervous because she has since seen Percy's picture in the paper or like on TV? Right. And is I don't remember if this picture that the fry cook takes comes into play later on down the line. But I because Percy reads it as, she's worried about us as kids, with this man that she just interacted with the other day. But I couldn't help but wonder if it was actually that she has now put 2 and 2 together and recognized Percy as so let's say manhunt, but he's a literal child.
Yeah, like the kid from the newspaper and TV and stuff.
They're searching for.
Yeah, I think you could take that either way. Either way, she's either worried about them, which is like the nicer interpretation, or she's seen that Percy is wanted for questioning and recognized him in the time it took them to go to Waterland and back, and is having them snap the photo. But either way, I love Percy's imagined headline.
Oh, fully. Yes.
12-year-old outlaw beats up defenseless biker.
It's like, this is how they're going to spin it. I already know.
This is totally the spin.
Yep.
So I love that.
And I just have to say, I love the, like, early 2000s of it all, where Fry Cook has got a little disposable camera on hand.
Yep.
Era where, you know.
The way you do.
Yeah. We didn't have iPhones. We didn't have ways to just, take, you know, high quality pictures on our phones. So you had to be ready with the disposable camera if you wanted to take a picture of anything.
For the record, in the early 2000s, for anyone who wasn't alive then, just carried disposable cameras in their pockets everywhere all the time. That's just what you did.
Every single person did that. Yep.
Every single person. You were just, it's like having your phone on you. The little green one or yellow one that you like turn the little dial, you know, to the next photo.
Just imagine this Fry Cook then going to like CVS and being like,
I know they have to like go develop it and then submit it to the newspaper.
Yeah, it's a time
by snail mail.
A committed process to.
It is. If it doesn't end up in the papers, it's because that was too complicated.
Or the Fry Cook forgot to go pick up the pictures.
Yeah, which honestly, that's the next step after you go get them developed, is to forget to pick them up.
Yep.
Yeah. You're either the kind of person who would forget to pick them up, or the person who orders them in 3 in like sets of 3, and then you keep all of them. Yeah. And you just have
and you have 100,000 million pictures.
Photos. Yeah. 100,000 million is definitely a number.
Yes.
But Percy is not forgetting what got him to go to Waterland in the first place. And he says, "You owe me one more thing. You promised me information about my mother." And Aries says, "You sure you can handle the news?" Which is just sort of like weird provoking, because he's actually about to say something like good overall.
Yeah. But it is kind of, you know, if Aries is assuming that Percy believes his mother to be dead, it would be pretty earth-shattering news.
Oh, totally,
you know?
Totally.
So he
can't handle the truth.
Yeah. He absolutely means it in a provoking way, but it is a kinder person would, you know, probably say a similar thing just in a nicer way, because it would be like, my world's about to collapse.
I just want to make sure you're sitting down first. Your mom's not dead. Yep. Big news.
And
news.
This is, we get that confirmation, the explanation that that we get the specific naming of what happened to her with the golden light is called metamorphosis. So
I know, which
basically
is really interesting.
A way of her being taken and she's being kept. And Ares specifically is like, it's hostages, like, this is war. You know, you take hostages to control somebody. And Percy's very insistent that nobody is controlling him. And Ares kind of laughs at that and is basically like, yeah, whatever, kid, you know, like, you tell yourself that if you need to believe that.
Right.
But what I found so interesting about that interaction is that they're both essentially kind of being controlled. Like, Percy's being controlled by the gods, but Ares is being controlled by Kronos, even though he thinks that he's not. He is, in the way that he's being manipulated by Kronos, and Kronos is dictating everything that he's doing.
Yep, 100%. And yeah, I think that's like an interesting thing for a war god, and it's part of his like blustering persona, but then insecurity on the inside, because he is controllable. Like, he if there is proximity to power and someone stronger than him, he's going to bend to their will and do their bidding. And like that part where Percy saw the look he had seen on Clarice's eyes, where he knew it wasn't like 100% confidence, I think that's where that shows up for Ares.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we get the curse that Ares puts on Percy. When he says in their goodbye, next time you're in a fight, watch your back. And that will come to bite Percy.
It will.
In the butt.
And this is why Annabeth and Grover have been so like, don't provoke the war god while we're on a quest, please, because that could affect us later. Yeah, this is where that happens.
Yes, and Annabeth does literally tell Percy that was not smart and that he does not want a god, any god as an enemy, but especially not that god because he is the god of war. But before they can get too deeper into this, Grover catches that the two kind of obvious truck drivers are paying their tab at the diner about to leave, and so they all have to like scurry in and hide in what Grover calls the Zoo Express. And now we're going to get into the section of this chapter where they're in the truck. And this is another, like, this whole beginning, these, like, first 3 paragraphs of description of, like, the condition that the animals are in and how they've been treated is another one of those descriptions that has always been so visceral that it was burned into my brain. Like, what these animals looked like, how poorly they had been treated. Drew's making another appearance. Is he talking about animals?
Because you're talking about animals.
Animals, me?
He can't even hear you. I have headphones.
I know. He knows, though. He knows.
He knows. I know. He's a smart boy.
He is. But yeah, it's really like intense. Just awful imagery, and it's so sad and it's so depressing.
I know.
It's just awful. It's really, really awful.
It is. Well, and it starts with the smell was like the world's biggest pan of kitty litter, which, as you can see from my cat here, you can imagine that I have a very visceral reaction.
Intimately familiar.
To that concept. And the fact, as I also have a lot of sensitivity around smell. Yeah. So the fact that, like, you could forget pretty easily that everything else happens and they're going from Denver to Vegas in this smell. Yeah. But my nose would not forget that.
No.
At any point during the journey. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's wild.
Yeah. And so I won't like take the time to read through every single description, but in this truck we have a zebra, a male albino lion, and what Percy first identifies as some weird antelope thing that he didn't know the name for, but is just kind of referred to as the antelope through the rest of the chapter.
Yes.
And they are in just really, really poor condition because they have been horribly mistreated. And when the 3 of them arrive, they can see that like none of them have water. They've all been given the incorrect food. Like the lion has been given the turnips, and the zebra and the antelope have been given hamburger meat. Like everything's just awful. And like they've got, the zebra's mane has chewing gum, and they're all clearly underfed. Like
the antelope has a balloon tied to his antlers. Like it's a really, they're all in not just neglected condition, but like specifically like abused, right? Like they're being played with in a very evil way, and that's intentional, right? Like that's not just like, oh, we didn't refill the water, or we didn't, clean the truck. Yeah. And this chapter is, I think, the first time we see Grover, like, be, like, rageful. Yes,
like,
I know.
Really, he's not just angry. It really does feel like rage from Grover at seeing how horribly these animals have been abused and, like, the condition that they're in. And he, like, Percy kind of can tell that Grover just wants to go out and beat the truckers.
Totally.
And Percy's like, I would have been so down, but the truck is literally
like violent
leaving.
Grover, actually, in this. I'm going to say, we have violent Grover in this,
we do.
Chapter. Yeah,
we really do. But I really love that after the moment where Percy kind of can tell that Grover just wants to go be violent towards those 2 truck drivers.
Yes, he wants to choose violence, for sure.
But the truck pulls out, and so they can't. I love that immediately then Grover, Annabeth, and Percy all work together as a team to be like, okay, we need to take care of these animals and do what the 3 of us each can do. So Grover's trying to communicate with them, kind of tell them like, hey, we're just trying to help. Percy's helping to like refill the water and switch out the food with his sword, and Annabeth is using her knife to get the balloon off of the antelope's horns. And like I love that it's just this like unspoken teamwork between all of them. And I feel like this is like one of the first times we see them like execute teamwork flawlessly.
Right.
Like they
I was actually thinking
so good.
We were talking in the last chapter about how they each had their ability to shine and they each like use their skills. And I feel like Waterland is where they kind of congeal that team dynamic. Like they really coalesce together. And it is more like each of them has their skill, but they're like collaborating in a way that they haven't before. And this feels like such a great, and I love that it's like not in a monster battle, right? It's just like they're taking care of animals that have been mistreated, you know? But this is a great example, I think, of like directly following that, how this dynamic has been established.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after they've done everything that they can, you know, minding their own safety and the animals' safety, because they do have a moment where they're like, Percy's kind of like, should we let them all out? And it's like, that actually would probably be worse. Just
not
like
great right now.
6 of them kind of like,
well, and like a moving vehicle and
so minding like their own safety and the animals' safety, they after they do everything that they can, everyone kind of like settles in and down for the night, I guess, roughly. And we get our kind of like first foreshadowing, I feel like, of, I mean, second, I guess, if you count the Las Vegas, you'll have a stop in Vegas reference.
Right.
The like second foreshadowing to like what awaits them in Vegas, because Percy has the thought of, it's only June 14th, we can make it in plenty of time. And it's like, well, you're about to waste a
famous
lot
last
of that precious
words,
time.
Percy Jackson. Famous last words.
But we and before we kind of get into this really I think lovely like Percy, Annabeth, and then Grover conversation, Percy's reflecting on the fact that the gods are just toying with him, and he doesn't really like know what to expect next, and I think he kind of realizes after Waterland, like Hephaestus was very clearly watching him. There were literal cameras on him, but he realizes that this whole time he is being watched, even if there's not a camera on him. And that's just what's happening. All the gods are tuning in and and paying attention.
As the show, like we've talked about. I was just thinking that I feel like there's a few things that demigods shouldn't ever get too comfortable with on their quest. One of them is, we could make it in plenty of time. I think that sentence is one that we avoid, you know? I think another one is, thank goodness there's no monsters here. I think that's not just something you should ever think. I think there's a few little key things that like should not be part of your quest discussion.
It's a fastest way to jinx it, you know, and to ensure
get into a tight situation.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So then we kind of dive into like our like really like vulnerable conversation. And it starts with Annabeth apologizing for freaking out at the water park, and Percy pulls out of his own accord his mythology knowledge.
This was on the test.
Yes, remembering Arachne's story and that she got turned into a spider for challenging Athena. And, you know, then Annabeth gives the explanation that Arachne's children have been taking revenge on the children of Athena ever since. And I just want to note that this is now like the second time, because we have first with the Gorgons and now with Arachne, that Athena has exacted her revenge by like transforming someone into a creature, like taking someone and like who is monster, human, quote unquote, and making them like inhuman and turning them into a monster. So just noting.
Also a note that like I think a lot about how, and I might have said this before in another episode, but how like women in particular are pitted against each other and like made to compete with each other. And I think that Athena being the one who has all these stories of like competing with other women or like having beefs with other women and then like turning them into monsters, it just feels like a very like sexist strain through the myths that like definitely continues to this day.
And kind of like ironic for the goddess of wisdom to like
I know
not be wise to, which just to me feels like, well, because a lot of these myths were written by men, you know.
Exactly.
Like going to be writing that perspective into all
Tell
of them.
me Greek myths were written by men without telling me Greek myths were written by men.
Yeah.
See all Athena myths. Essentially.
Yeah. But I love that her, like, Annabeth is basically telling Percy, like, I owe you for what you did at Waterland.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're a team, remember? You know, basically being like, this is not a you owe me, I owe you situation. Like, we are a team working together.
I loved his response.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say, besides, Grover did the fancy flying.
I know.
Which is just like an extra sweet addition to that.
Yeah.
And he says that thinking Grover's asleep, but Grover isn't. And he mumbles from the corner, I was pretty amazing, wasn't I? And I was like, that's so cute.
I know. Yeah.
It was so sweet, especially because Grover doesn't usually... Like, we've talked about how he has, like, self-esteem challenges, and so for him to kind of, like, brag on himself like that, I just, like, loved that moment.
I know, me too. And then we get into it, and Annabeth, I think, because she knows Luke so well, asks Percy in the Iris message, did Luke really say nothing? Because I think she knows he didn't say nothing.
I think she knows, but also... she likes Luke, and I think she's like, what's Luke up to? But, like, you never told me. But, like, I've been thinking about it. Like, I haven't been thinking about it too much, but, like, I've been kind of thinking about it, like, the whole time, like, since we were at the car wash, and, like, I know we met a workout and we went to a water park, and it was crazy, but what's Luke up to? That's the read I get.
2 different reads on. Yeah. But Percy does say that the conversation had bothered him all evening.
Yes.
And then he, after kind of like pausing, he does say, Luke said you and he go way back. He also said Grover wouldn't fail this time. Nobody would turn into a pine tree.
Yes.
And Grover lets out a mournful bray and says, I should have told you from the beginning. I thought if you knew what a failure I was, you wouldn't want me along, which is just so depressing. Especially like when he says later on that he blames himself for Talia's death because the Council of Cloven Elders said that it was his fault, which I need to fight them. Like, throughout every book, they suck. They're horrible.
They really, really are the worst.
I need to go fight the Council, because what do you mean? Like, in every single book,
I think we need a video
awful.
called The Council of Cloven Elders Are the Worst.
They are.
Yeah.
Like, they are constantly screwing up, making the wrong decision.
Yes.
Like, acting poorly. It's wild.
Isn't Chiron like on it? Like he's like a guest on it or whatever?
I think he's like he's not on it, but like him and Dionysus are able to go, but they can not like sit on members, it, right? I don't think.
Well, I was just thinking about that part that we really didn't like, where Chiron was like undermining Grover and saying he shouldn't have the dream and stuff, and I was just like, he fits right in that moment with the Council of Cloven Elders. Like, yeah, they're the worst.
Yeah. So they're on my list to fight. That's so 100%. Awful. Because it also, I was just thinking about it, and I know we talked about this like episodes back when we were kind of discussing like even the whole idea of like a lone satyr who's essentially like the equivalent of a middle schooler, like being responsible for another kid's life. I just, in this moment, was also thinking about the fact that, like, Grover had to do that by himself. Like, it's not like the council sent him any help. Or it's like, oh, we'll send you another satyr because it's Talia, daughter of Zeus, so yeah, you need some backup. Like,
it's like they just went bit of a high-stakes situation.
Yeah, they just went, no, you're on your own, you know, can't
Well, and think
you.
about this. I mean, I know he's been in, like, I don't remember how many years they stay basically middle school age, like satyrs a really long time.
Oh, they tell us in the book, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I forgot how many years. But think about, like, this was, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
So, to me, I'm like, even if, let's say he's the same developmental age, he's still 5 years younger in terms of experience when this happens than he even is right now. Like, that's, to me, that's a really big deal. Like, that's an extra layer of maybe it shouldn't have all been put on his shoulders to like prove himself by doing like the hardest thing ever.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, here we get, Annabeth gives us the kind of full description of the fact that Athena guided her towards Talia and Luke, who had also run away from their homes, and both of them kind of took Annabeth under their wing, and then Grover found them. Grover, we learn, had strict orders from Chiron, don't do anything that would slow down the rescue, and he was only supposed to escort Talia to camp. But being like a kind satyr,
a good
like,
protector,
is like, I'm not going to leave these other two demigods on their own. Like, they're not going to make it either.
Well, and that's where you bring in the extra satyr. Like, I'm sure an Iris message could have been had, and like, why was another satyr not sent to help Annabeth and Luke if they really needed to be separated, right? Which I don't think they would have. They probably all would have gone, but still, it's not okay to tell Grover that he can't do anything but bring Talia and then, like, give him the terrible option to leave them behind or not, right? It's not like they couldn't have sent, like, another satyr to help with all of that. But what I was really excited about before Annabeth gets all this explanation in is that Percy connected the red strings.
He did.
Like, we keep talking about the corkboards, and Percy says, you were the satyr who tried to rescue Talia, the daughter of Zeus, which we get again. Talia, daughter of Zeus.
Formal. It's always got to be formal.
I love
complete.
It. Talia, daughter of Zeus. But yeah, I was like, he did it.
I know. He took that string on that one pin and he connected it to that other pin.
He totally did. Like, he had the 5-year thing and he like totally connected it. And he's going to keep sort of adding into the conversation of what he knows. But I was just really proud of our Percy for getting his corkboard on straight, you know? Yep. Proud of you. And just, you know, figuring out the history here, that he knows that it was Luke and Annabeth who were with Talia and Grover and the other two half-bloods, and he's just really gotten all those puzzle pieces together. We've just been waiting for this moment, you know?
Yeah. We have indeed. So yes, we also, we learn explicitly that I know it's been mentioned actually, before, but that Hades was after Talia, and that was part of why Grover didn't feel like he could leave Luke and Annabeth by themselves, right? Because there were just truly so many monsters chasing all of them. And this is where, like, we learned that Grover blames himself for the fact that the kindly ones caught up to them, because he froze and got scared on the way back to camp and took some wrong turns, which is just like, like, of course you would again if you're like the equivalent of a middle schooler. And you're under so much stress and pressure that anyone could be under. You have literal lives in your hand. Like, you're going to screw up a couple of directions. And like, but we do get Annabeth really like reiterating that she doesn't blame Grover. Luke doesn't blame Grover. Even her saying that she wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Grover, and Luke wouldn't either. And so
and Talia didn't blame him. Like, I think, you know, given what happened to Talia, like, it's really meaningful that she's like, she didn't blame you, you know, and like, Annabeth was there, you know, she saw it all happen. And you know, she says, we don't care what the council says. And I think it's like, it doesn't necessarily take away Grover's guilt, I don't think, but I think it's good for him to hear that. And he probably needs to hear that, like, every day. Like, this wasn't your fault and I don't blame you, you know? Because
even without the council telling him it's his fault, the whole idea of a protector's job being to safely escort half-blood to camp, of course you would automatically, if you didn't do that 100% successfully, like, without any injury or anything like that, you'd already be primed to blame yourself. And then add the fact that the council, the like highest ranking satyrs in all the realm of all the satyrs, straight up tell you it's your fault she died, then like you're gonna carry that with you forever. Like, it's gonna take a lot of so many people telling you it is not your fault, we do not blame you, and also doing like your own internal work to be able to be like start to let that guilt go.
Right. Well, and then Grover says, it's just my luck. I find the two most powerful half-bloods in the century, Talia and Percy. And I'm just like, that is kind of wild that you did. But I really like the reframe that Percy says.
Yes.
You know, I love a positive reframe. And he says, it's not luck that you found Talia and me, Grover. You've got the biggest heart of any satyr ever. You're a natural searcher. That's why you'll be the one who finds Pan.
Yeah,
and I just think that's the sweetest thing ever.
I know.
That Percy not just is like, you know, you are like a good protector, and that because of that you found us and you have the biggest heart, but also he like, even though he doesn't fully understand it and doesn't understand Grover's faith in it, he's like, and you're gonna accomplish your biggest dream.
Yeah. And Percy really believes that, like genuinely fully believes that, because even in the interaction that like he has with Annabeth after, because Grover basically just like conks out immediately after hearing Percy say that. Annabeth kind of says like, that was a really nice thing to say, but in a way to me that read like, oh, that was a nice thing to say that you don't 100% believe, but it was like sweet in this moment to say. And Percy's like, no, I meant it. I fully meant that. I didn't say that to be nice. I said that because I mean it and I 100% believe it. And I just, I love that so much. And it's part of why like they're just best friends, and I love them. Like,
well, like they have like matching good hearts, you know.
Yeah. And just how much they both love and support each other, and you just see that so much throughout the books.
Totally.
Then we get into our just Annabeth and Percy deep conversation.
Yes.
Because they kind of ride in silence for a few miles, Percy specifically notes. And Annabeth is like in her own thoughts, like rubbing the pine tree bead. And Percy, again, he's noting.
I'm telling you, his corkboard is just filling up in this chapter.
He's got string number 2 on the corkboard. And notes the pine tree bead and asks if that's from her first year, and she doesn't even realize that that's kind of what she's fiddling with. Yes. She's thinking, and this is where we get the explanation that every August the counselors pick the most important event of the summer and paint it on that year's bead. And we get a couple of examples of the ones that she has. So she has Talia's pine tree, a Greek, do you pronounce that trireme? On fire, which I had to look up to double check is one of those like real big boats.
Yes.
And a centaur in a prom dress.
I want to know what that one was.
I need that short story.
Is that Chiron?
It has to be.
Because that's like the only centaur. I mean, unless like one of his like wild cousins came up in a prom dress for some reason. Like party. But also, why a prom dress? I need to know. I need to know so many things about this.
Yeah. So I really need that in like a short story or some kind of form or something or another. And then he also notes that the college ring is her dad's, and she kind of jumps very quickly to be like, "That's none of your business," is what she wants to say. But she
it's like an old
herself.
Reflex. Yeah.
It's a very protective, like, this is too vulnerable. I don't want to talk about it. Like, why are you?
And then she's like, "Wait, okay, fine. Like, you're cool now."
She's like, "Oh, we're friends now." But Percy really kindly says, "You don't have to tell me," which I think is like a really lovely,
thought that was really nice,
mature response.
Yeah.
And she goes like, "No, it's okay," and takes a shaky breath and explains that her dad sent it to her 2 summers ago along with the letter, and that the ring means a lot to her dad because it's like his main keepsake from Athena. He wouldn't have gotten through his doctoral program at Harvard without her. And Annabeth says that's a long story, to which I'm just like, I think I need to know that story.
Yeah, I feel like all of this makes me more annoyed at Annabeth's dad.
Oh, 100%. All of this made me so much more annoyed at one Mr. Chase, because like it made me think back to that first explanation we get from Annabeth where she's like, my dad didn't want me. And just like learning that like, okay, so Athena's the reason he successfully completed his doctoral program. He had this whole, you know, like intellectual affair with her, but then like didn't want the result of it, which is like, hi, no duh, a child. Like you got with a god and you think you could just like, I don't know, you know, like
have nothing, but like you got something out of it you also like really wanted.
Yes.
And then like that you're okay with, but like not this other thing who's like an actual person.
Yes.
Who's like awesome.
Who's like your child. So, yeah. And it's really amazing.
No.
Yeah. And in the letter, Annabeth says that he apologized for being a jerk, said that he loved her and that he missed her and that he wanted her to come home and live with him.
Yeah.
And she shares, like, she believed that letter. And so she tried and she went home for that school year. And she specifically says that her stepmom was the same as ever and that there was just a lot of fighting around like monsters attacking and her like siblings being in danger and just that causing a lot of tension. And I have to say, like, I completely understand Annabeth's perspective of like her stepmom being the problem in that. I still, though, I'm mad at both of them, but I'm really mad at her dad in all of this, because I'm just like, how do you say that, like, okay, I'm really going to work on this, but then in none of this do we get anything about like what her dad did to try to make the situation work, to try to figure it out. Like, it's none of that. It's just like, monsters attacked, we argued, monsters attacked, we argued. And like, how are you blaming a child for something that's literally not in their control? And like, it feels like it's just continuing to make...
Well, like, he asks her to come back and doesn't have any, apparently, new strategy plan, or approach or anything in place to like not have the same outcome. You know, the like definition of insanity thing is like doing the same thing, expecting a different result. It's like, if you... Like, I can believe he felt bad. I can believe he genuinely wanted to try. Like, I can believe all of that. But like, he didn't do anything different to make that possible. And so he basically guaranteed the same outcome, which essentially guarantees a worse relationship with Annabeth, because it's not just like, you didn't want me and I left. It's like, you didn't want me, I left, you apologized, you asked me back, and then it got the same situation and I had to leave again. Yep. And she didn't even make it to, you know, like Christmas break or something, right?
Yeah. She says that she didn't even make it through winter break. She had to call Chiron and come back to camp. And yeah, it's so frustrating because, and I feel so bad for Annabeth, like through all of this, because like her dad had, I mean, he sent the ring 2 summers ago, which means that 3 years passed. She lived it 3 years before this, like, I'm going to extend the olive branch. I'm sorry. I want you to come live with me past. 3 years is a long time for a brilliant man to plan, how can I make sure that when I apologize and I ask my daughter to come back, that it will actually work this time. Like, but instead it just feels like she came back, at least to me it feels like she came back, and once again what happened was everyone made like her existence the problem because they blamed her for the monsters coming, even though it's literally not her fault. It's not her fault. She's not asking them to be there. She has no control over that.
We have the example, like we've talked about before, of Percy's mom like doing the most to try to keep him safe, you know? And it's like, so we know, I mean, that, not to say that that is the right answer all the time, because that obviously was also a bad situation in a lot of ways. But just that, like, we have an example of a parent trying to make it work in a real way, and it was effective for the most part. And so I think that's just a huge issue. And, you know, I think it's interesting because Percy, like, because he comes from that upbringing, he believes in the good in people, like, so much.
He's such a like glass half full, inherently hopeful person, believes in like the possibility of everything, though funnily enough, not with Luke. He like does that with everyone, but when it comes to Luke,
well,
he's like, Luke cannot be changed. Luke is a lost cause, and Annabeth like holds on to hope until the last book. Yes, I was about to say,
he's the only one that Annabeth believes in that way. Like, she is the opposite of Percy in a lot of ways, in that she does have a more jaded view of the world, except when it comes to Luke. So it is interesting because they have that like yin and yang of like how they see people and the world. But he asks if she'll ever try living with her dad again, and she says, please, I'm not into self-inflicted pain, which feels like a very like teenagery. I love that line. I think
fully. And that's really the moment where I go, Percy, that's where you pump the brakes. And Percy does not pump the brakes.
Percy does not pump the brakes. He says, you shouldn't give up. You should write him a letter or something.
Which is like
Percy.
Annabeth is not the one who should be writing letters here. It's her dad who should be the one writing letters. Like,
I think it's just like, this is, there's a limitation here around empathy. Because sometimes when you have a very opposite experience as someone else, it's like really hard to put yourself in their shoes. And I think Percy like believes that having this more like your mortal parent, like he's currently missing his, right, in a way that was really traumatic for him, and so he's
and
I can imagine him being like, you still have
alive.
Him. Yes, and it's like, you still have him, like he's still could be there for you, and so you should try. But it was not the move. And Annabeth, very rightly responds, thanks for the advice, but my father's made his choice about who he wants to live with, which I thought was a very like profound statement and very sad statement, because he is prioritizing who he is willing to make an effort for and not.
And I'm thinking about like when we do meet him, and he's the very kind of like stereotypical intellectual where like his office is a mess because he is like so focused, he's like hyper focused on what he is most interested in, and so everything
like
else
a war
is
like
replica
battle
thing. And so everything else is kind of like ignored, and to me it just feels like he's portrayed as such a very classic intellectual, and that like it's causing too many problems, and not in a like that's a problem I'm excited to fix because that's what my intellectualism is focused on. It's like that's interfering with what I want to spend my time studying and focusing on. So I'm just not going to put time and energy into figuring out how I can solve that problem that's coming up. I'm just going to
It's like wild how many kids he ends up with. Because it's not even like he has Annabeth and then he's like, oh, I didn't want that. She's at Camp Half-Blood. I shall just be Nutty Professor. It's like, let me get married and have 2 more kids. It's like, what are you doing, Mr. Chase? Like, stop it.
He's doing the like classic thing that so many men do, where they like have kids, but then go, but you, wife, take care of everything.
They want no responsibility.
I want to have the kids, but they're not actually.
But I don't want to pay attention to them, because I'm sure that his other 2 kids like receive the mortal version of this problem. Where like I'm sure he's not as attentive to them as like he absolutely should be as a father.
For sure. Like I'm sure he probably doesn't know the names of their teachers at school, or like he's not at all the doctor's appointments.
He does not cook dinner.
He's not the emergency contact. I'm blanking on the
he doesn't even know where his cell phone is.
No,
definitely not. It's under a pile of something somewhere. Of like jackets.
But then after this kind of like vulnerable moment that built up to this tense moment, we do get this lovely like, oh, they are really truly now friends moment, because Percy then is basically asking like, okay, so if all of this ends up leading to Trojan War Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, I couldn't help myself, I'm sorry. Percy is like, if I'm remembering you correctly, Poseidon and Athena were on different sides of that war. Will that be the same this time around? And I love that Annabeth replies with, I don't know what my mom will do, I just know I'll fight next to you. And when Percy asks why, she says, because you're my friend. And it was just like, I'm gonna cry.
when you just read that out loud, it made me realize that those two sentences rhyme and they totally sound like part of a song, yes. Which I think is titled Seaweed Brain. Yeah. I don't know what my mom will do. I just know I'll fight next to you. That's
oh my god.
Perfect lyrics.
Okay, that's like an 80s love ballad. Seaweed Brain is an 80s love ballad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So fully. Anyway, put it on the list.
Okay, we'll add that to the list of songs we need to write.
That's so sweet.
I know. It's just so sweet. And I love that, like, in this, like, horrific truck,
yes.
You know, we, like...
That's what I'm saying. Like, I personally am still smelling the cat litter. Like, I think they've become, you know, used to it or whatever, but, like, yeah. I'm still smelling it.
You have not breathed through your nose this entire
like,
time.
It's been mouth breathing only. My mouth is very dry. I need water.
Yes.
I don't even want to think about it anymore.
But I love that this like horrific truck ride feels like yes. the real solidification of their friendship as a trio, but then also mm-hmm. Percy and Annabeth's friendship. Like,
yeah, because I was thinking when I was reading it, like before now we've gotten some Percy Grover, like plenty of those conversations. We've gotten some Percy Annabeth vulnerable conversations, but this, at least mm-hmm. the first half of it, is our first like trio conversation. Yes, that's vulnerable yeah. and like talking about a serious topic. Yeah, and bringing them more emotionally close together. And yeah, I really like that. And then that we get this, and I also like that, you know how Percy always has to have a snarky comeback. I think Annabeth mm-hmm. like always has to be a little bit in fighting mode, and so yeah. I love that she follows Because You're My Friend Seaweed Brain with any more stupid questions, which is also like yeah, very yeah. of, you know, of that age. But I just think yeah, it's the banter, which is not underlined with real tension, has mm-hmm. begun, and yeah. It's just very sweet. And it's also yeah. the first time that, you know, she's calling him her friend, and I think for Annabeth yeah. to call someone a friend, like, you really have to show up for her for that. Like, yes. I think she has a really high standard in who she would call a friend. Yeah. And so for Percy to have made it to that tier for her, I think is just mm-hmm. like a really big deal. And knowing how much she respects her mom, I think it's an even bigger deal for her to say, yes, I would not be on her side in order to be on your side. Yeah. Like, that's real friendship.
Yes. And I think Waterland is what got them to that point. I think yeah. her seeing Percy's reaction to her, like, fully shutting down, seeing yeah. the golden spiders, and seeing how much he was just immediately like, I'm yeah. locked in. I am going to get both of us out of this situation. You. No yeah. questions asked. I'm like, I am 100% here for you right now. I think probably because of how many negative experiences she had with her dad and her stepmom, and like did not feel like cared for, or like they had her back, you know. I think yep. it means a lot to her when she sees people in those like high stakes life or death moments immediately just respond with, I got you, I'm getting yep. us both out of here. I think that's what really changed her, because I don't think before Waterland, I don't know if she would have felt that way about
no,
like, regardless
I don't
of
think so. Yeah.
What side my mom's on, I'm fighting on your side. I really think Waterland yeah. is what changed that for her.
No, I totally agree, because she's like truly helpless in that moment, you know, yeah, and he really yeah. steps in. I was just thinking that because she hasn't gone questing, so like she's left Camp Half-Blood to go yeah. live with her dad, but she hasn't gone questing with other people since she first got to Camp Half-Blood, which means mm-hmm. that very likely the last time somebody stepped in to save her or help her like that yeah. was like Luke mm-hmm. or Talia. Yeah. So I think that's also part of, like, she associates that with people who like are her ride or dies. Yeah. And I feel like yeah. that makes sense too, right? That then absolutely Percy like starts to get more into that category.
Yeah. Yeah. So then they both fall asleep. Annabeth far more quickly than Percy, and then
because the lion is staring hungrily at him.
And then we get a pretty long dream sequence here. So it starts with him in a nightmare that he says is something he's dreamed a million times before, which I just had to write a little like rambly note about this. Just says so much about our education system and like how like I just had to like let that out.
100%.
Like the fact that his standard nightmare is being forced to take a standardized test while wearing a straitjacket and then being told by the teacher, "Come on, Percy, you're not stupid, are you? Pick up your pencil." It just...
While all the other kids go to recess. Yeah. It's rough. It's frustrating. It makes me feel claustrophobic and I don't like it. And insert rant about the U.S. education system.
Yeah, and like treatment of neurodivergence and within that. But then we get our first visual appearance of Talia, daughter of Zeus.
Yes, which is wild.
I know. So she appears in the dream, in like the desk next to him, and the way that she looks is she's a girl sitting there, also wearing a straitjacket. Yeah. And she was Percy's age, with unruly black punk-style hair, dark eyeliner around her stormy green eyes, and freckles across her nose. Which I had a quick question of, I thought her eyes were blue and not green. Did I have that mixed up in my brain? Because they're green here. Maybe I'm not 100% that Jason
sure.
has blue eyes.
It is possible that her eyes can change color because it says stormy green. You know, some people's eyes can go between green and blue.
Oh, true.
But I don't remember for sure.
Maybe I'm remembering that Jason has blue eyes, and so I thought that she did.
I'll have to note that. Yeah.
Anyways. And Percy says that somehow he knew who she was, Talia, daughter of Zeus. Because again, formal introduction always needed, even in a dream. And she's struggling against the straitjacket and like glaring at him in frustration and calls him seaweed brain in his own dream, which I think is really funny.
I do think that's funny too. There's so much here. Like there's so much here. I feel like the fact that they're both in straitjackets kind of making them like equal in some way. The fact that she's in a straitjacket kind of representing her being stuck in the pine tree, I feel like, as well.
Well, and I also think in this classroom setting, to me it felt like this depiction of like demigods with ADHD and dyslexia like are the ones in the classroom like who feel this way like when they're trying to take a test while everyone else is like done and you know going off to recess.
But then on top of that, like they're both children of the big three. And then I read, well, seaweed brain, one of us has to get out of here, as alluding to the prophecy. I don't know if you read it that way, but the idea that like one of them is the child of the prophecy really felt like this was a way of alluding to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I hadn't read it that way, but that's such a good point.
And then Percy does the most amazing thing next, which is, she's right, my dream self thought, I'm going back to that cavern. I'm going to give Hades a piece of my mind, because he still thinks that it's Hades that's in the pit, and so, or that the voice is coming out. The straitjacket melts off him. So it's a really cool, it's almost like when people can lucid dream, you know, but it's a really cool thing for him to kind of discover that he has some powers in dreaming. That Kronos kind of references him being like changeable, because like Poseidon has that like changeability, which I think is a really cool explanation for why he can do this. But I also think it's really interesting, if he's had this dream a million times before, I imagine he's never had the ability to melt his straitjacket off. And I think it's like cool that as he's gaining demigod powers, it's even applying to like getting rid of a nightmare that's been a frequent nightmare. Absolutely. Like changing what that looks like, you know? Yeah. So he falls through the classroom floor, and you hear the evil voice, the cold and evil voice, because we always hear cold, here saying, "Percy Jackson, yes, the exchange went well, I see." And I feel like at first you can like imagine he's talking to Percy, because all these other times he is, but then we quickly realize that he doesn't know that Percy is there, which is so cool. This is like one of those moments that's really cool when your protagonist like does something that the villain isn't expecting. I feel like that's always very, very satisfying. And of course, in the exchange, we're talking about the backpack and the fact that Percy now has the lightning bolt. And Percy's realizing that the voice is directed somewhere else. and he suspects nothing. And another voice, one I almost recognized, and I was like, Percy, trust your gut. Think a little harder.
You're so close. You're so close.
Says, nothing, my lord. He is as ignorant as the rest. And Percy cannot...
Luke. All right.
I know.
Okay. Tell us how you really feel.
Yep. I mean, we got a good insight into, I think Luke emerges from this book much more villainous than any other read I've had of it, just because we really are like nitpicking every single evil thing that he does throughout the books. But yes, I like Kronos says deception upon deception, which just feels like a very like villainy like thing. He's like, ooh, I am the main big bad. Like I need to say something like that. Excellent. It's just like, okay, cool. Yes, you are evil. I got it. Truly, my lord, you are well named the Crooked One. But was it really necessary? I could have brought you what I stole directly. And this is where we know it's Luke, right? Because we know that Luke steals the bolt originally. At least those of us who've read ahead. Yeah. If not, surprise. And we get the Crooked One, right? Which is our first real hint that this is not Hades. But Kronos has some scorn for Luke and says that he's already shown his limits and that he would have failed if Kronos hadn't intervened. And goes on to talk about like how Zeus's anger has grown. Poseidon has played his most desperate card, which is Percy. They're going to use Percy against Poseidon, and that soon Luke will have the reward of revenge as soon as both items are delivered into his hands. So we get the information that is not just one item, which is kind of a crucial piece of information here, actually.
It really is. And that is the moment then where Kronos realizes that Percy's there, because he goes, but wait, he is here.
He is here.
And Luke, though he's only referred to as the invisible servant here, is like, what? You summoned him? Like, I don't know. And Kronos just goes, no. And Percy feels the full force of his attention. Specifically saying it's pouring over me, freezing me into place. And then this is where Kronos says that piece about blast his father's blood. He is too changeable, too unpredictable. The boy brought himself hither, which I just love that Kronos is like, hither. Brought himself hither.
Yes. It's like Kronos was like really into Shakespeare at one point, you know.
Just kind of stayed in that lane.
The tragedies, that was his thing.
And Luke is like, impossible, and Kronos kind of taking shots at Luke. Inconceivable. Kronos says, for weaklings such as you, perhaps, which is like, wow, shots fired at Luke. From Kronos. But I've always loved this description of Percy being too changeable and too unpredictable, like you were saying. It feels like such an apt way to describe the sea. Like, the sea is not something you can control. It is constantly changing, and it is constantly unpredictable. And so Percy being that way, and like an expression of that being his ability
to slipping through dreams,
decide to go to Kronos and like dream of himself, I think just is so cool.
I agree. I really love it. And then Kronos says, so you wish to dream of your quest, young half-blood? Then I will oblige, which we can oblige. He's very into, he's in evil villain mode. The scene changes, and then Percy is standing in a vast throne room with black marble walls and bronze floors. The empty, horrid throne was made from human bones fused together. And I'm like, this is our first glimpse into the underworld, like into where Hades is.
And I also think like the first, again, like the stream is full of hints that the voice in the pit is not Hades, but is actually Kronos or someone else. And so like Kronos kind of basically switching perspectives and showing him Hades' throne, and it looks visually so different. It just feels to me like this is littered with hints, and if they had not then immediately gone into the Lotus Casino and kind of therefore like wiped Percy's memory of most of this, like, I think Annabeth would have been like stop everything.
Erase the previous corkboard. We're starting over.
She's thrown all of the old corkboards out, and she's like, Kronos.
Yep. And I think we'll get to circle back to it a little later. But for now, you know, as the reader, you're watching Percy's mom, frozen in shimmering golden light, her arms outstretched. And this is like Kronos' move. Every single time, he's a one-note samba of, Percy, look, your mom. Percy, your mom's alive. Percy, don't you want to know about your mom? Which is, of course, very effective. But it's kind of like his only ploy a lot of the time in this book. And Percy tries to step toward her, but his legs wouldn't move. Which could be dream vibes. It also could be still the time stop from Kronos. I'm not really sure, but it seems to affect him in dreams as well. But then it gets a little gnarlier because as he reaches for her, his hands are withering into bones, and grinning skeletons in Greek armor are crowding around him, draping him in silk robes. And so it's a whole kind of like death corpse scene situation. Which again, is Kronos doing this? Is this part of Percy's dream? Like what? What is happening? I think it could be Kronos, partly because the evil voice begins to laugh at the end, and he says, "Hail the conquering hero," which is just like an interesting. I'm not exactly sure what that's supposed to do to Percy.
This always felt to me like Kronos kind of got thrown off by Percy showing up, and so he went hard on the like, I need to freak this kid out.
He
like
went
I need to
Shakespeare.
I need to re-exert my power because you did something unexpected that really threw me off, and you displayed a level of power that I didn't realize that you had, so I now need to like one up you and kind of put you back into a place of fearing me, and you know, like kind of both get in your head about
and turn
your mother.
The focus on Hades.
Yes, like get in your head about your mother, but also visually remind you and tell you that like the only way to see her again is to go to the underworld because I need you to go to the underworld. And then also I'm going to do all this stuff so you see yourself turning to bone, which really made me think of the Hercules Disney movie where he's like trying to save Meg and he's aging and like turning to bone and skeleton trying to rescue her. It made me think of that a lot. But yeah,
that's interesting.
To me, it felt like Kronos being like, two can play this game. Right. You come to me unexpectedly. I'm going to make you dream some horrific things.
I just had a thought that I had not had before, which was that it's interesting to me that Ares doesn't notice that Percy isn't wearing the shoes. Because as you were saying, Percy has to go to the underworld. I was like, yes, and he needs to be wearing the shoes. And I was like, he's not wearing the shoes. And then I was like, Ares was just around them, and he didn't notice that Percy wasn't wearing the shoes and that Grover was wearing the shoes. And it was caught on camera that Grover was wearing the shoes at Waterland.
I bet Ares doesn't know about the shoes. I bet Ares
this is an issue with the plan. Like an issue with Kronos' plan is that it seems like he's not telling everybody every part of the plan. Like he might be segmenting it in such a way that like there's not, and obviously Kronos is also not tapping into the Olympus Broadcast Network, right? Because he didn't see Grover, the amazing flying goat boy, like use the shoes. But this feels actually like a really important flaw in the plan, that there was an opportunity to catch that this is happening that was missed.
It's like he's too much of a micromanager and keeping everyone too siloed, but like he doesn't have access to the outside world information, so he's relying on the people that he's micromanaging to tell him everything that he needs to know. Right, exactly, and keeping them too siloed so that Ares won't think twice about the flying shoes and seeing them. Like he probably didn't register in his brain because he's like, well, that's not something, like he would have no reason to kind of clock that like Percy's not wearing them and Grover is, and so he wouldn't communicate that update.
And Luke's not watching the feed.
Exactly.
But yeah, it just I realize this is you know a flaw in Kronos' plan right here.
Yeah, that's true. It really is. So then Percy wakes with a start, and this is where we enter like the last section of this chapter. And
chapter 16, part 3.
Yes. And Grover's like shaking him awake because the truck has stopped, and Annabeth and Grover are pretty sure that the driver's going to come back to check on the animals, so they need to hide, and Annabeth can just throw on her cap and immediately
I know, I thought that was funny. She had it easy. She can just put her cap on. Like, it is pretty convenient.
Yes, it is quite convenient. But Grover and Percy kind of dive behind some feed sacks to like disguise themselves, and we see one of the truckers like just like pour water into the dishes, but then also just like throw the rest of it in the lion's face. So we get the clear,
so mean.
Like they are actively abusing these animals, and it's awful.
Yes.
And Grover's about to commit murder. He's seconds away 100%. From being like the first vegetarian to ever commit murder. And when Annabeth very smartly, like kind of, it was honestly reminding me a little bit of the like nobody trick that Odysseus plays, that then like Percy plays too. She's not saying nobody, but like she's knocking on the side of the truck and making both of them think that the other one is like trying to like doing something to get their attention, so that the one inside the truck leaves. And that's when she reappears, and this is when we get a new power unlocked from Percy.
Yes, we do. But can I say something first?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so the super at Percy's apartment's name is Eddie, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, one of these guys' names is Eddie, too. And I don't know what Eddie hurt Rick Riordan at some point in his life, but the fact that we have two Eddies in this book, and they are both evil, abusive people.
Or it's the same Eddie. He's both a super and a truck driver.
Stopping the super. And now he's in Denver driving a truck. I'm just like, what happened?
Yeah, what Eddie hurt?
What Eddie hurt you? Because I'm sorry to all the not abusive Eddies out there, because you got a bad rap in this book.
Oh my god, that's true. That's really funny. I had like completely forgotten about the fact that the super is also named Eddie.
I did not. I was like, what? So that was interesting. Yeah. But yes, then we get new power unlocked, and this is very exciting.
Because so Annabeth is basically like, this business truly cannot be legal, and Grover's like, yeah, absolutely not. And he says, you know, that the lion says that they're actually animal smugglers, and this is when, in Percy's mind, he hears the zebra's voice say, "That's right." And Grover and Annabeth are like, we have to free them, and they kind of look to Percy, funnily enough, to like, okay,
which I think
take
is
the lead.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like he is the leader of the quest, you know.
But Percy kind of is like frozen for a moment, being like, I just heard the zebra talk, but not the lion. Like, what's happening? But he very quickly, he's really recalling his mythology knowledge a lot. Yes, quite quickly in this
Chiron
chapter.
Is a good teacher, is what we've really learned in this book.
Yes, because he like, after spiraling for a second, he goes, wait, horses.
Horses.
What did Annabeth said about Poseidon creating horses? And he's like, is a zebra maybe close enough to a horse that it counts?
Like,
and
the
like, that's why I can understand.
Action is on fire for Percy in this chapter, and I love that for him.
Yes. Yeah. And so then we hear the zebra say in Percy's mind, "Open my cage, Lord, please, I'll be fine after that." And I just think it's so funny that basically every horse and horse adjacent creature calls Percy Lord or my Lord. Like, that's what they just all call him.
It's just, you know, respect for, you know, the God Son of the God that created you. I could see that.
And so Percy like frees the zebra by unlocking the cage, and Grover holds up his hand and like blesses the zebra. And we learn that he places a satyr sanctuary on after they free all the animals. He places the satyr sanctuary on all of them, and it means that they'll reach the wild safely. They'll find water, food, shade, whatever they need until they find a safe place to live.
Which is a really cool power.
It's an incredibly cool power.
I think it's like under used and appreciated, and
yes, absolutely.
Like, I'm like, we need more. What you can do? What?
Yes.
Like, it seems so often like Grover's not bringing tons of big magic, yet at this point. But I'm like, that seems like a really big deal. Like a really, really big deal.
Yeah.
We don't have to keep this in, but where my brain just went about the Lord thing is that Percy is Jesus. So hear me out. Okay, 2 horses. Okay. So if horses are created by Poseidon, who is a god, then Poseidon is the creator of horses.
I see where you're going.
Poseidon's son is Percy. Percy equals
is
Jesus. Yeah.
Percy is the Messiah.
Yeah. New theory just dropped. But just to horses.
Yes, no. Well, I'm now just like, so horses and all like horse adjacent creatures have their own religion where they worship Poseidon as God and Percy as Jesus, their Lord and Savior.
I mean, I know that there are like more sons of and daughters and kids of Poseidon, so I'm not saying like, I guess there's basically a lot of Jesuses, but in this particular moment.
Well, and I guess in this religion they would have many Jesuses. Like,
right.
So they just kind of have like a plethora of Jesuses.
Take your pick. Yeah, many lords. Anyway, that was just like, wait, Percy is Jesus.
Oh my god, that is I'm now spiraling on all the really absolutely hilarious ways that like that can be true, and then all of them being like, I've met Jesus, I've spoken to the Messiah.
Right, like Blackjack is like, my best friend is Jesus.
Oh, that's great.
Anyway.
But we then get this like really funny friend, like we are friends, we can kind of like poke fun at each other exchange, where Percy then asks Grover like, why can't you place a blessing like that on us? And Grover says it only works on wild animals, and Annabeth coming right in with so it would only affect Percy. Yeah, which is a great zinger. Just like she's primed and ready for that. Yeah. But after a little protest, she's like, I'm kidding. They like get out of the truck and end up kind of like stumbling through Las Vegas, and they pass the Monte Carlo and the MGM, and he sees the Statue of Liberty, and it makes him kind of homesick, which is sad.
That's sweet.
And Percy says that he doesn't know what they were looking for, which I think is kind of interesting. Like maybe just a place to get out of the heat or something like that, or a way to make a plan. But they must have taken a wrong turn, because they find themselves at a dead end, standing in front of the Lotus Hotel and Casino. And this is where my little tinfoil hat conspiracy theory is that I think in general, Kronos wanted them to wind up at the Lotus Casino, but I feel like particularly after Percy kind of like self-inserted himself into that moment, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like, because it like serves Kronos's agenda so well for them to get so insanely sidetracked that like the gods are literally 2 seconds away from like starting a war with each other. Yeah, it feels very like
it could be part of the plan.
Yeah. I don't know how, but just the way that description of like, I didn't know where we were going and somehow we got lost. Yeah. It just feels a little like something intervened in that moment.
My theory was that actually the Lotus Casino like attracts demigods, and that the scent, or it's sort of like an unconscious thing that like you're drawn to it. I think that the pitfall for Kronos that might be too much of a risk for it to be him is that it would be so easy for them to just be there forever and ever.
Right. And he never gets the lightning
Kronos
bolt.
wants his lightning bolt. So I don't know. That's the only thing where I'm like, I don't know, because I was wondering that too. Like, is he involved?
I think more than Kronos wanting the lightning bolt, I think he wants the gods to be at war with each other. I think more than anything, because he still successfully like gets into Luke's body and does all the things that he wants to do without getting the lightning bolt.
True.
So that's why I feel like more than anything, he wants Percy to not successfully return the lightning bolt. Yeah. And have the war like begin. Yeah. I think more than Kronos like wants it for himself.
I mean, it certainly could be that he at least, like, has there be a stop in Vegas on the transportation he provides. As a way of, like, it being possible that they could get sidetracked, even if it's not, like, imperative to his plan.
Yeah.
Like, it just adding as many wrinkles as he can, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, they get there. Either way, there's definitely something intentional about how they find their way. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is it seemed like very similar language of we took a wrong turn as when Grover said he took some wrong turns on the way to camp.
Yeah.
And so it made me think that something monstery or magical led Grover away from... like, made him take those wrong turns on the way to camp. So I just felt like the wording there felt like an indication of that. And it's like an extra layer of why he shouldn't be hard on himself. Because I think it wasn't like, oh, he forgot. Like, I think it was something more nefarious than that.
Yeah.
But so here's where I start counting red flags. Yes. So I have them numbered. Throughout the pages.
I just like highlight, like underlined all of them. Immediately was no one was going in or out.
Yep.
In Las Vegas, no one is entering or exiting the casino that you're hotel and casino that you're staring
also,
at.
even starting from, let me tell you this sentence and you tell me if you should respond by saying yes. Hey kids, you look tired. You want to come in and sit down?
This was the moment. My note for this was, hey, this is a cult. like my note was like, okay, like the way where cults will like find people at their lowest.
Absolutely.
Like, we have this wonderful, amazing thing to offer you that solves all your problems. I was like, hey, this is a cult.
Absolutely.
Fully.
The Lotus cult for sure. Now, Percy does say he'd learned to be suspicious, and he figured anybody might be a monster or a god, and you couldn't tell. But he knew this guy was normal, and there's something interesting about the people who work there, who do seem to be mortals, and, like, are also somehow under the spell, and, like, I don't know. It's really interesting to think about, like, what magic, or is there an entity at all that's, like, powering all of this? Because it is very... like, it's pervasive into everybody who encounters it. And the mortals don't necessarily seem to be intentionally being evil or anything like that. Like, they're also under some kind of spell. But yeah, this is something we should, you just turn around. Demigods, you turn around, you go away. I know you're tired. I know you're hungry, but you've got $20. Let's get burgers because that's our thing. And like, turn around. But he was so relieved to hear somebody who sounded sympathetic that they go inside. And then you're just stuck because the whole lobby was a giant game room, and these are 3 kids, and we're talking 40 floor water slides taking around a glass elevator. We're talking climbing wall, indoor bungee jumping bridge, virtual reality, hundreds of video games, all of them on widescreen TVs. And not too many people there, which is another little hint. And so it means there's no lines to play. But then we're told that they have rooms, which that's our next hint.
Another red flag.
They have rooms, and the bill's taken care of. There's no extra charges or tips, and you just go to the top floor.
So many red flags.
And if you need any extra things like bubbles for the hot tub or targets for the shooting range or whatever, just call the front desk. And here's your Lotus cash cards, which have no limit. And I'm just like,
many red flags,
turn around,
so many red
run,
flags.
turn around, run.
I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a guy on the internet who will like react to like videos, and he like rides a bike holding either like a giant red flag or a giant green flag.
That's funny.
And I was just picturing him like riding on his bike with a giant red flag, literally massive thing, just being like red flag, red flag.
I was just thinking like the number of bulls that are charging for all the red flags that we have here is insane. Like ridiculous. And then Percy goes back to his whole old standby of making things make sense even though they don't, and says he obviously thought we were some millionaires' kids, which I'm just like, that's not how millionaires work.
No. Also, I'm like, there's no way y'all look like millionaires' kids.
Yeah, you haven't showered in a week.
And you just got off of a truck ride where you were like sleeping with
you smell like cat
abused
litter,
and
is what you smell
malnourished
like.
animals.
Yes.
You smell horrendous.
Yes.
Like, there's no mistaking you for
wild
being a millionaire's child. Yeah. But he does ask how much is on the card. Like, he has a little bit of his brain still working in this moment. But the bellhop is just like, huh? What? He's like, when does it run out? And he's like, oh, haha, you're making a joke. That's cool. Right. Which again is just like, hey, we've run out of red flags to be like waving around.
And there's still more coming.
Yes, and there's still even more. And I do find it really interesting that, like, in this instance, Annabeth and Grover immediately are like sucked in, brains off, like not thinking about any of it, and Percy is the only one who's able to like kind of like retain some, like, wait, hold on, there's something we're supposed to be doing.
What's coming to mind for that, because I don't think we have any other explanation of why Percy would be less susceptible than Annabeth and Grover, but what's coming to mind is that we've established in this chapter that Percy is changeable and fluid, and like he can sort of slip in and out of situations because of his parentage. Right. And so I guess what I'm wondering is if his subconscious does have the ability to like move out of whatever this like lotus state is more easily in the same way he was able to escape, you know, from his dream, go into where Kronos is. Yeah. I can see that. Because I have always, like, every time I have read this section, which I just have to say, before this reread, if you'd asked me to bet money if the Lotus Casino was its own chapter or just part 3, we would have both lost a lot of money on that.
I would have lost all my money.
I would be like, there's definitely a chapter called The Lotus Casino.
Yes. I would have sworn that, like, the ride there is its own chapter and the Lotus Casino is its own separate one because it's, like, so monumental.
Yeah,
like,
I can't believe it.
In my head, I had made it its own chapter because it's so important, but it's just a section within a chapter.
Yeah.
I
had no idea. Same.
But I every time I have read it, I have always wondered how Percy is the one who's able to. Right. Apart from the like writing logic of he's our main character, I've always wondered why out of the 3 of them, you know, like he's the one who pulls them out of it. Yeah. But they ride the elevator upstairs. They get to their room, which is a suite with three separate bedrooms, which again is just like, hey, how did they know that you were 3 people?
Big red flags.
Like,
big red flags.
And there's even like a hot tub and like skeet shooting. There's like stuff like on the balcony.
There's a hot tub on the balcony,
which is absolutely wild. Like, this place is nuts.
It is completely wild.
Really nuts. I don't even know how the skeet shooting thing works over the Vegas skyline. I'm like, this thing has to be magical in a way that, like, I don't know, because I don't understand how it can like exist without being full of people, you know, like also trying to go.
Well, that's why
like,
I think it might be like demigod focused. Like, I think there's a chance that everybody who we meet there actually are all demigods.
Yeah.
But my question about the magic is, how does the outside work? Is seeing Vegas like an illusion, or is it real? Yes. Because time is moving differently in Vegas. So it just like makes me curious of like how they can see out to Vegas, but like be in a different time. Pace. I don't know. I would think that would reveal something. So it just made me curious, like, how that magic works.
Well, and I wonder if, I think maybe that's why, like, my brain went so quickly to, like, tying it to Kronos, because there's so much time manipulation
that makes
happening at the Lotus Casino. I think that's why I was like, this must all be Kronos's, part of his plan, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, changing time, slowing it down.
Is like, also him. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. But, like, Hades puts his kids there on purpose.
Yes. Like, intentionally to protect them.
Yeah, I really want to know if this is, like, tied to Kronos.
Yeah.
In any
I
way.
feel that a theory video is needed.
Yeah. I also, like, want to go back to the original Lotus myth and, like, read a little bit more about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then another red flag: clothes in the closet that already fit him. Hey,
wrote that one down.
There's
just so many,
truly so many red flags. And he notes that he throws Aries' backpack in the trash can, thinking won't need that anymore.
Which was again good instincts.
Yes, great instincts.
And actually going to end up being a red flag about Aries and Kronos later, separate from the just so many red flags we have about the Lotus Casino.
Yeah. But all of them are finally able to shower, and I do feel very relieved and happy for them.
I know. I felt that. I was like, oh, yes.
Like, there is, even though I know that, like, they should not be here, and even though they're not in danger being here, it's bad that they are there and they're spending so much time. I also can't help but just feel relieved that they're able to shower and rest and have fun. And
like at the end I was like, oh, I wish they, like, it would have made them late, but I wish they could have slept a night there, you know, because that's Percy. And I'm like,
I know,
yeah, like they got the shower and they got the, you know, clothes and 3 Cokes. I think it's so funny. It's so like middle school boy to just like down 3
Cokes.
Just like chug them. But yeah, I do wish that they could have gotten a good night's sleep. They would have emerged into World War III, so it's good that they didn't. But and maybe not have been able to leave. But yeah. Annabeth is the one who says, "So what now? Sleep?" And Grover and Percy look at each other and grin and hold up their green plastic Lotus cash cards. Let's go.
Yeah.
Playtime.
I love that they all have like specialized to them games.
Yeah.
Like, ever since I first read it, and every time I reread it, like the reverse hunter game just cracks me up. Like the deer shooting the hunter. Like hunters.
Well, and like given that, you know, Grover is in that rageful, very violent place earlier, like it's a great outlet for him to release the energy he built up around, you know, the animal abusers that we met.
And then Annabeth's literal dream in a game of her being able to build the city from the ground up and like see it in like 3D, like holographs and everything.
Yeah, you're not moving her from that table.
No. But this is where we finally start to see Percy realizing that something is wrong.
Yes.
Because he notices that a guy standing next to him looks about 13, but the clothes are kind of funny because he kind of looks like an Elvis impersonator to Percy with like bell-bottom jeans.
He specifically says an Elvis impersonator's son, which I think is really funny. Yes. The idea that like as an Elvis impersonator, your son would necessarily be dressed similarly to you, but not be an Elvis impersonator.
It's like if you are an Elvis impersonator, you also birth out like another Elvis impersonator.
The tiny edition. Like, it's so funny. Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah. And he notes that the kid says groovy man, and Percy's like, no one has said groovy to me ever. Like, what's happening here?
Right.
And
we get the information that he's been there 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Which is really important information. We start to track like how long people have been there with then what year they think it is, and that starts as the reader to make you very nervous for what year it is and what day it is. For Percy, given that we're not 100% sure how much time they've been there at this point.
Yeah. And Percy startles this kid later when they're talking, and Percy calls something sick, and the kid has the reaction of like, what are you talking about?
I think that's so funny to imagine that in reverse.
No, yeah. Well, it made me think of how like our grandparents would be like, cool is a temperature. You can't call something cool. Cool is a temperature descriptor. Like, that's what that word means. It doesn't mean anything else. Things cannot be cool unless you're referring to the fact that they are cold.
Right.
And then this is when Percy gets the idea to ask this kid named Darren, what year is it? And the kid goes, in the game? And Percy's like, nope, in real life. And the kid has to think about it. Yeah, which is another red flag.
Well, and it's great that Percy asked this question. Like, to have his wits about him to even ask this question in the first place, I think is, like, excellent.
Yes. And Darren does finally answer and say 1977, and Percy starts to get really scared. And he's like,
yeah,
really? Do you, like, seriously mean that?
Yeah.
But immediately Darren disengages with Percy, which I think is, like...
bad vibes.
Yeah. I think it's part of that magic, and we'll see that happen. Like, Percy says he's trying to talk to other people, but he's finding that it's not easy to, like, engage them. But he finds a guy who says that it's 1985, another guy who says that it's 1993, and that they've all claimed that they haven't been here very long, anywhere from a few days to a few weeks at most.
Yeah.
So even to be here for a few weeks at most, but, like, decades have passed is terrifying.
Very
and then
terrifying.
Finally the thought hits Percy of, how long have I been here? It's only felt like a couple of hours, but, like, how long has it truly been?
This makes me think of, like, it being an analog to, like, social media nowadays, and how we now have more information about just, like, how it can be addictive and how you can, and I know we've all had the experience of, like, I thought I was on here for 15 minutes and I was on scrolling for 2 hours, you know, and like, so I don't know, it's like interesting reading this now, thinking about the 2025 version instead of the 2005 version, you know, of like imagining, like I'm imagining a dystopian future where this is just like the device in your hand or the VR or something, right? But it's like, it's been years and you didn't realize it, you know, because you're on your phone.
It's like the Matrix.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So anyway, that just struck me as kind of like an interesting, like, modern way that we're experiencing, like, time distortion through technology.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a really great point.
Kronos invented social media. New theory just dropped.
Oh, no. He did. I believe it. And when Percy starts to get really scared, he starts to try to remember why they're even there in the first place.
That part's scary.
It gets really scary because he's like, okay, I'm supposed to find the entrance to the underworld, and then he has trouble remembering his own mother's name, which I think is the thing. I think that's what gets him when he's like, if I could not remember the name of Sally Jackson,
the most important person on Earth,
to have ever existed,
protect at all costs,
angel, mother, like, I am what?
Well, he's Jesus. So she is, like, the Virgin Mary. Yeah,
she's Mary, impregnated by a god.
That's what I'm saying. Who, like, is mysteriously not there. Yeah. Wow. Anyway.
What if we cut the whole rest of the part where we explain that?
I was just thinking that. Keep this.
She's the Virgin Mary and he's Jesus, and everyone's like, what are they talking about? What are you talking about?
No, I think we have to keep all of it. But
oh yes, for sure.
But it just keeps getting better.
Yes. Oh my god.
But yeah, he's like, no, like, this is the most important person in his universe, and he's forgotten her name, and that really wakes him up. And so he's like, Sally Jackson, I had to find her. I had to stop Hades from causing World War III because we haven't updated our corkboards from the dream to kind of figure out, like, maybe it's not Hades. Yeah. He gets to Annabeth, still building her city, tries to get her to get out of there. She doesn't even respond at first. Yeah. He has to, like, he shakes her a little bit. He's like, we gotta go. And she's like, what are you talking about? I've just got the towers. Like, she's really... And that makes me wonder, too, if, like, somehow this is... I know there can be towers in a lot of places, but if she is doing, like, her pre-Manhattan Olympus... like, this is, like, her first draft of what she does later. I don't know. I think that would be fun. And Percy goes, this place is a trap. And I was like, it's a trap. It's a trap. And I just wrote, yes, all caps. It is a trap. And she doesn't respond again. Yeah. And he's trying to say, like, the underworld, our quest. And she's like, a few more minutes, which who of us has not said a few more minutes about? Oh, yeah. Again, being on your phone.
Oh, yeah. I've said that to myself. Yeah, no, that's... I've got to go to bed, and I've told myself a few more minutes. Give me a few more minutes.
And then cut to, like, 2
an hour later.
Yeah. And this is where I think Percy does a really good job of using information that he's
so smart
received
in this moment.
earlier.
Yeah.
Because she's like, can you imagine a better place? Because he's like explaining it. Like, kids have never aged. You check in, you stay forever. Like, she's like, so, like, if I get to do
she's
this.
lost in the sauce. And
yeah,
just like...
which also, like, can we just say that for a demigod who has lived such a rough life, to find, like, essentially paradise.
Oh my God.
Where you have no worries. It's like, of course, like, of all people, demigods, like, need this type of, like, carefree experience, right? Of, like, just having pure joy and fun. So I totally understand the attraction. Yes, tell me.
I'm sorry. I came up with a crazy theory. It's unrelated. It's related to Lotus Casino. But so if Percy's Jesus, what if Nico is Captain America?
Okay, hold on. You're gonna have to explain that logic because I what? Wait. Wait.
He's the man out of time.
Okay.
World War II, right? Wakes up. He doesn't go the full 75 years,
you
right?
Said that like they were connected. Percy's Jesus.
Percy's Jesus. That makes Nico Captain America.
As if Jesus and Captain America are in the same related. Like universe or like the same fandom or something. Oh my God, you're killing me. Okay, hold on.
Like,
I'm with
he
you.
Loses,
the man out of
like,
time. Yes.
If Bianca's basically like his Bucky,
right? Sure. Yeah.
And she's not going to come back as the Winter Soldier, but like he loses like
but
that.
He loses
like
Bucky.
I think, I would argue that Bucky is like Sam's brother. Like that's it. Like they're not brothers by blood, but they are
right.
They are brothers. Anyways.
Yes. I'm with you. I just think the if was what confused the if then construction of that sentence.
Yeah, it wasn't so. It was more so. Yeah, it might.
Here's another also thought that makes sense about this. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
That was more
Nico
of an if we're tying.
Yes,
like,
I understand.
These Percy Jackson characters to other figures.
Yes.
Then
that was incredible.
I make the case for Nico as Captain America.
I support that case. I think.
Or what if Nico's Bucky?
Well, I was just thinking
he does have a bit of like turn to the bad side and then come back.
I was
Maybe
just thinking
he's actually Bucky.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that he
like I was trying
to think if Captain America ever really goes dark, and I feel like he doesn't. And so yeah, I think that Bianca's Captain America and Nico is Bucky.
Yeah, and we're getting
which is just more of the
from
vibe.
Bucky's perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Nico is Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
And Bianca is Captain America. And the difference is just that, like, she doesn't come back from the ice.
Yeah. She does choose to be reborn, though. Because we learned she reaches Alisa,
that's true.
She chooses.
So I think she does,
her
just in a
version
different form.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I support that. Great tangent. We have so many things out of this particular chapter.
Yeah.
But the thing that Percy does that's very smart that I was saying
incredibly
is that he makes Annabeth look directly in his eyes and he says, spiders, large, hairy spiders. I'm like, this was smart. So that jars her. Her vision clears, which let's sidetrack really quickly back to the eyes. So something in the magic of the Lotus Casino is affecting their eyes because her vision has to clear in order for her. So it's like a shroud over your eyes or something. So there is additional magic around eyes happening in this chapter. She says, oh my gods, how long have we essentially been here? And Percy says, I don't know, but we've got to find Grover. They find him still playing virtual deer hunter. So I'm like, at this point, I think you've completed your stress response cycle. I think you have done the thing. I think your rage is released. I think now, like, you're good to go. And he's just stuck.
He's like gone past that point. It's like when it's like, oh, you're like, I need to de-stress. I'm gonna watch an episode of a TV show, and maybe you're like, oh no, I'm gonna watch a second one, and the second one is good. But once you hit that third, that fourth, that fifth, that sixth, and
I'm no longer
become
de-stressing.
one with the couch. I
am potato.
Becoming a blob. And that's what Grover is becoming in this moment.
Grover is blob. Yes. And he's saying, "Die, human, die, silly, polluting, nasty person." And I was like, that's violent. Like, Grover is truly, like, embracing violent Grover, which I think feels so, like, interesting to me about, like, for a satyr. I feel like I think of them as very kind of, like, peaceful, loving creatures.
Oh, totally.
But I think it's like they love nature, right? And Grover is a good fighter, and he's gonna, like, become even more of a good fighter. So I think it's just, like, interesting to see him in this state,
well,
I think.
It kind of makes me think of Coach in
that's true.
in Heroes of Olympus, because I feel like he's the first, like, violent satyr that we meet who's like, let me at him, let me at him.
Always
like,
violent.
And I feel like this is where we see some of Coach in Grover.
I agree.
Here
I agree
in this
with
one
that.
before we even meet Coach and know who he is.
That's a good analysis.
We see him here.
It's just like that's Coach's only mode.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
It's violent mode and dad mode. Like, that's kind of his two modes that he's ever gonna have.
Yeah.
Yes. No, that's 100% true. And then, but this is kind of scary because when Percy says Grover turns the plastic gun on Percy and starts clicking as if Percy was just another image from the screen. And I think that's also how you know he's, like, gone too far in the game.
Yes.
That's his reaction.
Like, I'm, like, going back to your kind of analogy of, like, that is what social media does today. Like, sometimes when you've, like, scrolled too much or watched too much and you blink and you, like, see, you know, like, whatever, like, little, like, images you were just looking at, or like, it feels like that's that, like,
what
same
is reality, what is
analogy.
not reality.
You spent too much time scrolling, and then now when you blink you don't actually get to see, like, just, like, whatever kind of you normally see. You're like, oh, I'm still looking at whatever I used to
that is before. My world now. And in this case it helps that Percy's already gotten Annabeth out, because then the two of them are able to drag Grover away, which I think but yeah, his flying shoes, is that what you're going to say?
This is adding. This is why I'm adding to my little tinfoil hat conspiracy that's all thrown Kronos. Is because when they try to drag Grover away, his flying shoes spring to life of their own accord. He does not say anything, and they start tugging his legs in the other direction. So they're trying to pull him back into the Lotus Casino, which is why I think that evidence. I had kind of forgotten that. And I think you're right. Like, that evidence has me more convinced that this is part of the plan. I feel like it's got to be part of the plan, because, like, the only other time that they spring to life. They spring to life. The first time we see them spring to life without Grover saying anything is in the Lotus Casino. It's, like, up in the room. When Grover's, like, happy. Then this is time 2, and time 3 is when they're at the pit and they spring to life to drag him down. So it just feels like
that one is Kronos. So that makes you think these other two. The other option, I guess, could be that they're, like, emotionally driven inside the casino and there's, like, magic there. But no, I see it. I do see it. And yeah, I think that it does make sense in terms of what Kronos really wants to happen, that he wants to give them the least chance of interfering with his plans as possible. And like you said, Percy just surprised him. So but they like drag him up to, like, basically to the exit, but the bellhop, like, hurries up and is like, but no, we have your platinum cards, you know, like, trying to get them to stay. Kind of how, like, you know, whenever you, like, are trying to unsubscribe from something or cancel, like, they're like, we'll give you a month free. No, but are you sure you want to go? We'll give you all these things. Don't leave. Yeah, so many parallels to, like, our current technology that are kind of scary to think about if we're relating it to the Lotus Casino. And the bellhop even says we've added an entire new floor full of games for platinum card members, which I'm just like, how this? I mean, it's all magic, because the way that they're able to add. It's like endless. And this is where Percy has a moment where he realizes, he says, I knew that if I took one, I'd never leave. I'd stay here happy forever, playing games forever, and soon I'd forget my mom and my quest and maybe even my own name, which is, like, a terrifying thought. Absolutely. And Grover reaches for the card, but Annabeth yanks his arm back and says no thanks. And they walk to the door, and there's, like, one last hit of the smell and the like, pull to stay. And that's when Percy thinks about the room upstairs and
like the food and the sounds of the game and everything is so inviting, and maybe they could just stay the night and sleep in a real bed for like once.
Yeah.
But they power through that and they burst through the doors. And it feels like afternoon, about the same time of day that they'd entered the casino, but something was wrong because the weather had completely changed. It was stormy with heat lightning flashing out in the desert. And Aries' backpack... Because Zeus. And Aries' backpack is slung over Percy's shoulder, which was odd because Percy was sure he'd thrown it out in the trash can in room 4001. But in the moment he had like other bigger problems to worry about.
And I think that's like another sign that Kronos is involved, or the backpack is always going to do that, depending, like, if kind of like his sword.
I feel like,
like if he leaves it anywhere, it'll just come back to him, you know.
I felt like the backpack was probably enchanted in the same way that his sword was. Because I think Kronos, like, it, you know, is ancient enough to know that I can't trust a 12-year-old.
Totally.
To never lose the backpack, you know,
that's true.
or just like accidentally like forget it somewhere or get into some sort of like fight or something.
Your kid's name in their lunchbox or something.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like he was not going to play around with like losing the lightning bolt at all. And
Absolutely
so I think it was I've always felt like it's like Riptide and it's just always going to come back to Percy.
For sure.
And so Percy runs to the nearest newspaper and first checks for the year.
Ooh, that's scary.
To be like, are we in the same year? Which, it's a horrifying thought. And
he reads like 2050.
God, the world has just ended.
Yeah.
And thankfully it's the same year. But then he notices the date. It is June 20th. They had been in the Lotus Casino for 5 days. And they only had 1 day left until the summer solstice. 1 day to complete the quest.
Dun, dun, dun.
I literally wrote that.
We both did.
I wrote that.
Well, and I've been like dreading this the whole time that we've had all the references for it, because like again, I don't get that anxious about time and deadlines, but this one feels really pretty important.
And it's a pretty important
Vegas is not necessarily like next door to Vegas. Like Vegas is not necessarily. Vegas is not necessarily next door to LA. Yeah. So it's like we still have to get there. Yeah. And like, I don't know. It's kind of like another moment where, okay, we're actually genuinely in a bad spot again. Yes. And it is wild how much is in this chapter.
Oh my gosh.
Like, we really do have 3 whole separate parts that happen. Yeah. We get so much information. And it almost has the effect, I feel like, of like the Lotus Casino part of what it does to Percy for the reader. Because we got all these hints dropped in the nightmare. And then we're sucked into Lotus Casino land. Which I think is also just like a very, very clever... It's one of the most clever, to me, modern like parallels that Rick Riordan writes, because I think this idea of like come to a casino, spend money, like they do things like give you free drinks and like stuff like that to keep you staying
like,
there.
Vegas, like all those places are designed where like so much is connected, so you don't have to walk outside, and they do have like false like pretend you see the sun, but they also make it so that in some places there are like truly no windows, so you genuinely have no sense of time, how long you've been there. Like it is a place that is actively designed to keep you in a casino for as long as humanly possible, so you can like spend
lose track of time. Yeah. So it's such a great analog to like the Lotus Island, and I just think that's really cool. And I think by reading that part 3 of the chapter, you do forget some of the details that you were told in the dream that Percy has, and you might lose track of like some of the doubts and questions that you had. And so I think it's very effective in that way too. Well,
and that's also why like reading the chapter this time around, I was like adding to my tinfoil hat conspiracy that like their stop at the Lotus Casino is Kronos' fault. Yeah. Because Percy overheard a lot of really important hints, and I feel like if he had not gone into the casino, he would have remembered them and immediately told Annabeth and Grover. And I feel like
with
Kronos
plenty of days to go.
Exactly. Kronos wanted to ensure that he like forgot most of that. And like really the only way to do that is to send him to the casino.
For sure. For sure. Well, we made it through chapter 16. I cannot believe how far we are into the book.
I know. We only have 6 chapters left. I cannot believe how little we have left. It's crazy.
That is wild. And we are finally about to get to LA, which we have been just waiting and waiting and waiting for. We may not get a good night's sleep, but we may find a mattress when we get there. Yeah. Either way. And this was, I think, a really interesting chapter, and it kind of had a little bit of everything. It gave you like heartfelt conversations, Kronos plotting with a secret, conspirator, and a mythological thing brought into the modern world that delays the quest and creates a challenge for the heroes. So it really is, I think, like jam-packed with so many details, so much good information, and we really have our heroes solidified as a team by the end of this chapter in a way that is really beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that's one of my favorite parts of this chapter is how much it feels like the cohesion has occurred, and that we have really solidified like their dynamic as 3, but then also all of their like one individual ones.
Duos.
So, Grover and Percy already had a good duo. Grover and Annabeth already had a duo from their pre-existing, but this was the one where I feel like we really solidified Percy and Annabeth as a duo, and so I love that we got that, and moving forward it really feels like, okay, we're now following a true group of friends, not just people who came together.
Which is great going into Act 3. Like, when we're going to really need to be together, we're going to figure out a lot of things we're going to face. We're going to go to the underworld.
Yeah.
You don't want to go in there, with people that you don't fully trust. So I think, it's a really beautiful friendship that we've created here. And it really is the friends we made along the way, after all. So any final thoughts on the chapter?
I think those are pretty much all of my final thoughts. I'm just very excited going into, like, we're kind of rounding the curve for the end of the book, and I'm just really excited for everything that we're going to get to, and I can't believe how little of the book we have left.
I know.
It's wild.
I know. It's really crazy. It's really exciting. And we got Chewie visit us for this episode, which was adorable. So if you're only listening, you can pop up to the beginning of the episode on YouTube and check that out. And just like Charlie did, I know that Chewie wants to remind the folks at home to like and subscribe and leave 5-star reviews and tell in the comments how pretty Chewie is and how much you love him. And he would really appreciate that. So thanks to everyone. So they're just like, they're my marketing team. Like, they're the best promoters.
They run our social media.
Yes. If you've been wondering who runs the social media, it's Charlie and Chewie Inc. Yeah, that's what they do. So thank you to everyone who listens for being along on this wild, exciting ride. And we will see you next time for Chapter 17, We Shop for Waterbeds. Bye.
Bye.